Hey guys, it's been too long and I just wanted to welcome you to another war counter video. We're going to look at X-Force here. And this is a double-sided coin because this team is the first one on their way out. It is my least favorite to use war team and it used to be my favorite. With that said, if you build them to like the 800-900k range, their capabilities go through the roof. But let's jump into it. I'll quickly talk about ISO 8s, T4s, teams I use them against, and then we'll look at some footage. So, who do I use them against? I use them against unboosted, outdated teams. So we're talking Wave 1, big teams. There's no longer Black Widow, although that doesn't really matter if there is a Black Widow. Big mercenary teams, though I will say watch out for huge killmongers, especially with Shuri. Big Sinister 6 teams, though not too big because that could be a problem. And some other options that we'll go over. So our X-Force allies, we got Domino. We really only need the passive done for her. Nothing else is going to add too much damage, so I wouldn't worry about that. IR is a fortifier. However, I think Skirmisher would be a bigger damage boost if you wanted to go that way. Then we got X23. You're going to want her special, her ultimate, and her passive done. And you're going to want her as a raider. Next we got Deadpool. You don't need anything on Deadpool, but I put a T4 in his ultimate, and I'm also going to put a T4 in his special at some point. One, I love the character, and two, his damage is underrated. You're going to see in the videos, he is a very key member to this. And I do say a moderate investment on Deadpool, but again, if you want to bring this team up and you want to keep them relevant going forward in the meta, you're going to want him as big as possible. And I like him as a raider. He does a lot of multiple hits on his basic and on his ultimate. Negasonic. She is the linchpin that makes this team work. You absolutely need the passive, and I'm also going to say you absolutely need that ultimate. I also have the special in her because it does a bunch of damage, and I think it peels off more debuffs, or peels off more buffs rather. But if the ultimate doesn't knock people into yellow, this team falls apart very quickly. Which again is one of the reasons why we want the teams to be unboosted. I really like her as a striker, just because if the teams are boosted, she can't crit. But if you are dead set on only going for unboosted teams, and that is a rule you're going to stick by, you can switch her in X23. You can have Negasonic as a raider and X23 as a striker, and you'll be able to do even bigger punch-ups on unboosted teams. Next we have Cable. You don't need anything on Cable. I like him as a striker. However, since he's kind of arena meta right now, if you wanted to bring him up, it kind of acts as a deterrent for enemies. As well, he does a lot of damage in war. He doesn't do it in the arena, but he does a lot of damage in war. So if you want to build him up, go for it. Domino is really the only character who's purely kit-based and won't really benefit you. So for the kill order on these teams we're going to look at, there's going to be a crucial enemy character on each team. You'll see as we go. Next we're going to go for any healer, because if the matchups go too long, we're going to run into a problem with our X-Force. And then we're going to clean up the rest. So the important moments when using this team: pick fights that are not boosted when possible. Avoid spawn defense up teams. Now Negasonic clears the defense up, but not before the damage goes out, and that's going to stop her from knocking people into yellow. Measure your Negasonic against the weakest enemy. Want at least one of the enemies to drop yellow, so if we can guarantee that's going to happen, we're good to go. Then measure X23 to the crucial enemy, because Negasonic's going to set X23 up, and she's going to knock it out of the park. Let's go look at some footage. I'll pop back up. So looking at the Mercenaries. Now it's not going to work against these new Mercenaries with Surfer. Well, it does if you build them really high. But if you're looking at team Mercenaries with like Surfer and Emma or Surfer and Doom, you need a gigantic X-Force. I've had it work with mine sparingly, because my X-Force is only 550k. Honestly, you're going to want them around the 700, 800k if you're going to do that. So there you go. This is all in practice footage, guys, because I only see the Silver Surfer versions from now on in Real War, so keep that in mind. Negasonic drops a bunch of people in the yellow because it was unboosted. X23 goes in, kills the Taskmaster, especially if that Taskmaster is beside the Riot Guard. He's just going to get another deflect, guarantees the block on the first hit, then X23 comes back in and crushes him. So you see this is the Mercenary with Ultimus, and I think X-Force is the best version to beat that version of Mercs. Now we're looking at Wave 1. We're doing about a 220k punch-up. This has Captain Marvel instead of Black Widow. And, well, you'll see what happens here. I don't even play this correctly, and it still goes off easy because it's unboosted. So you see Captain Marvel gets knocked low. I'm going to go ahead and ability block the Hawkeye just so he doesn't rewind the energy. I put a Disrupt on Hulk. Now, I got a lot of people low, so X23 goes in, She takes out Hawkeye and Captain Marvel before anyone gets a turn. Hulk gets a bunch of speed from his passive. And then look at the damage Deadpool just did on that 7 red star Thor. That's why I do believe Deadpool is a worthy investment if you're going hard on this team, especially that ultimate T4. He cleans people up. Domino dies, not a surprise, that happens all the time. So we get Hulk nice and low, and then we get stuck behind the Captain America. Not that big a deal. Because the thing about Captain America that he likes to do is block, and X-23 does not like people who block. So let's see what she thinks about his shield. Gonzo. That's Gonzo. And then we clean up the Hulk. So now we got Symbiotes. So this is my preferred use for X-Force, because I don't see them on Mercs very much anymore. This is a 310k punch up. Not a lot of people boost the Symbiotes because they have so many different counters. And you'll see it really doesn't matter about the power difference here. Now, when you're taking the Symbiote matchup, look out for bridge. You don't want the enemies to get speed up, because you're going to see I get all of my turns before the enemy gets any, which is great. And you also don't want to do it in engineering. So there we go. We got the Scream dead first. She's the one who's going to give speed up to the enemy if somebody else on her team or your team dies. So we take her out first. Then Anti-Venom so he doesn't get a bunch of debuffs and res. And then we kill the rest, just like the kill order suggested. So there you go. There goes Venom, or no, here he goes in a second here. Remember to use basic on Cable before using his ultimate. Gives him a bunch of speed. He essentially gets 2 turns in a row doing that method. Open with a special, just turn me to rewind. And then we have Sinister 6. And I'm going to show you 2 methods for the Sinister 6 here. And it's going to rely on how big your X-Force is. If your X-Force is bigger than mine, you can kill Doc Ock last. If your X-Force is like mine and you're dealing with the 600 to 700k range Sinister 6, kill Doc Ock first. But let's look at this first method here. So we're going to think about it. Lots of deflects out. We are going to, in this method, kill everybody but Doc Ock first. And I want you to watch what happens because we do that. So we get the double tap because of the deflect. She's gone. And we go over here. We're going to basic with Domino against his team. I don't care about the disrupt. And we get an assist when we Domino basic. And the assist, if it's called into X-23 or Negasonic, completely destroys people. Deadpool's ultimate can't be countered. I think that's because of X-23 or Domino. I'm not sure which, but important to note that his ultimate can't be countered. Or no, it goes through stealth. Maybe that Rhino just has a phantom counter. That's what we might be seeing there. Anyway, so now we are on, I think, like ×5 speed. And you can see this Doc Ock. He drops to yellow, he drops to red. He just keeps rebalancing. And the thing about Doc Ock is his ultimate can be dodged, I believe, but his basic can't. And if he goes and he kills the Cable with basics, you're going to lose this fight because you're going to run out of dodges. So you see, he takes a lot of time to prep it up. We got a lot of people getting low because we don't have a healer, which is why we wanted to kill healers second on our kill list. But we eventually line up our cooldowns back up, and then we take him out. Now let's watch what happens when we take the Doc Ock out first. And it's very important in this matchup to measure your X-23 and your Negasonic to the Doc Ock. You want them to be no more than 20k apart from the Doc Ock. And I mean both of them. If Doc Ock is 160, you want your Negasonic and your X-23 to be 140. And of course, you want your Negasonic to still knock somebody into yellow. So it's the exact same team. We go ahead. We get that Mysterio to yellow again. Now, Doc Ock here is actually not going to block, so we don't get the 2-tap, which pretty much would have killed him. But as you see, with the ability block, he's not going to use his special, he doesn't get a huge amount of heals, and now he's gone. And then we just clean up the rest. I always like taking the Doc Ock out first, but you're going to want to make sure that you have the power to do so. There goes Swarm. Mysterio's still alive and kicking. And then we're going to play cleanup here. Again, we use the basic to get more speed. X-23, we're going to attack a different target just so X-23 gets more speed again. We could have done the same thing with Deadpool's attack there, we just didn't opt to. And there you go. So those are all old meta teams that I like to use my X-Force on. Can they work against new teams? Yes, they can. Now, I do not recommend it. This team that I'm going up especially is easy for X-Force because of the weak Loki and a Greg. And it's not boosted, it's not an engineering, it doesn't have any of those things going against it, right? X23 will always land the ability block on Cloak. So even if he dodges the first time, it's actually just going to bite him in the butt, because then he's going to get hit by the second one, which hits a lot harder. You see we base it with Domino there, it does more damage. We kill a bunch of Gregs, it gives X23 a bunch more speed again. Dagger's down, so even if Cloak did ult now, it's not going to do as much damage. Now you're going to see, there goes my Cable. Now that's very unfortunate, because his dodges are huge in this matchup. But again, like I was saying, can they work? Yes. If you build them up super high, then yeah, I would recommend using this if you have like a 750, 800k X-Force. It's going to work fine. But if you don't, stick to the unboosted old meta teams. Gear tier 16 Cloak. And you're going to see my Deadpool's not going to clear all those. I believe you need his passive T4 to clear all the debuffs. I don't think that's worth a T4. And there you go, we get another assist, and he's gone. So guys, that's X-Force in a nutshell, and like I just kind of said at the beginning of this video, I loved this team. They've fallen off hard. They do have the speed meta still going for them, because they get all those turns up front, but they had a huge hit on their stats ever since the Surfer change. If you build them up high enough, the speed kind of makes up for that. However, there's so much to work on now, I don't know if I would recommend that. Now, let's talk a little bit about what X-Force is also used for. Nothing except Doc Ock. You don't need to build up a 500k X-Force to get Doc Ock. Now, how useful is Doc Ock? Black Bolt and Yo-Yo are always going to be viable for war defense because of the Yo-Yo passive and then the Black Bolt doing Black Bolt stuff. Doc Ock will counter any team that uses the Yo-Yo Black Bolt. So he has his uses in war. If you see my tech videos, I don't use Doc Ock on tech. I don't like him. The heal block from Surfer on node 1 makes him irrelevant. He's too slow on node 2 to stop the Secret Avengers that are on that node from just tearing you apart, so I really don't like Doc Ock there. And there's another heal block, I believe, from Colleen on the boss node. So I really don't like Doc Ock in the raid either. Dark Dimension, there can be an argument made for him, but now with Omega Red, Phoenix, Jubilee, Adam Warlock, I think there's better legendary options than Doc Ock as well. So I'm not a huge fan. So if you already have your X-Force in a position to be used, I think these are the best matches for it. If you want to use them against, say, Silver Surfer Mercs or New Warriors, or there's certain Doom teams that just have a bunch of supports around him and a Shuri. If you want to use them against that, I was just building up your X-Force around 750 to 800k, and then you could still make use of this very fun team. That's it for X-Force. I know this is pretty outdated, so I hope this was a little informative, kind of help you decide what you want to do with your roster as far as these characters go. Other options is to throw Negasonic and X23 in with Bishop Beast Jubilee, and you can have some interesting hybrids there. I don't want to do that because I'd rather just throw all of Astonishing on defense now, and because I'm doing that, we're going to show the team I replaced them with, which is Uncanny, and that's for the next video. So guys, take care, have fun, and I'll see you next time. Peace.